Hello, hello, and welcome back to part 3 of making over my dream fantasy-inspired studio space. You might be thinking to yourself, Karen, you said you finished the walls last episode. How on earth is it possible for you to have yet another unfinished white wall to film in front of? I have always had the plan that when I redid this room, I wanted to do faux stone on it somewhere. Initially, it was going to be a whole wall. Then I thought to myself, that's going to be a lot of work and maybe not worth it in the end. So I scaled back my designs and we're doing a half stone wall underneath the window on this wall here. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. We were gonna demo the baseboards first, but instead we're gonna have a little cuddle and then we'll demo the baseboards. Yeah, you gonna help or you gonna hinder this progress? Too cute to do anything. Post puppy cuddles, it is now time to remove the baseboards so we can get the foam on the walls a little easier. Let's go. I have done similar textured things on a very, very small scale using cheap dollar store foam before, mostly for like tabletop terrain. This, in theory, is exactly the same, just bigger, right? What the plan is we're gonna take all this foam, measure out where it's gonna go, and then I can lay it on the ground and kind of see where it all maps out to. And then I'm just gonna paint it and do up the texturing like I would on a miniature, except bigger. There's no way this goes wrong, right? Ugh. Is it better to do it this way? So, there's an outlet here. I should not cover it because that is dangerous. What I should do to cut out the hole for this is measure it, like figure it all out. But I hate measuring because it's slow and it's precise and I'm impatient. What I think is gonna work is if I just push this into the corner, comes up, press really hard against it, make an imprint of the outlet cover, and then cut where the line is. Just a gentle push. There's like a very light mark where this outlet cover made an indent. That's what the cutting mat's for.
Oh, I didn't see it.
You thought I was just cutting straight onto our hardwood floors?
Yeah, I did.
You have that little faith in me?
And how much you care about our floors? Yeah.
Oops. And you just shave it off until it fits. So now that we have all the foam fitted to the wall, it's time to sketch out the shapes. I'm just gonna use a marker so it's easy for both of us to hopefully see this. I found some source images on Pinterest that I'm just gonna try to copy and follow, and we'll see how that goes. The best part about this is if it sucks and I hate how it looks, we just keep drawing the lines till I like it. So here goes nothing. There's so much guesswork involved. I feel like you can only look at a pattern so much. Like other people's rocks, because their rocks are for their own space, and you look at yours and you're like, oof, that's not the same spot. You know? I think I figured out a bit of a strategy. What I'm basically doing is trying to place the larger blocks and then fill in with smaller ones as needed, prioritizing rectangular shapes like this guy or this guy, and then adding in a few with these little edges. Pretty much everything should be all straight lines, I feel like, has been what's working well, and not letting the gaps get too big, but also not letting them get too small. So, just do it right and it'll look good. I have watched a lot of home renovation content where people are making over their fireplaces and doing like fake stone facades. And one thing they say on those, which I'm gonna apply here, it's basically the same thing, is don't have like 4 corners touching each other and making this T shape, this plus shape, because it'll just look weird in your composition and you never really want this crossroads. You always want like one of the streets to be blocked off. See how much better that looks compared to like the plus? Anyways, that's what we're gonna keep doing, and we're just gonna time lapse through this. Okay, so we're done the parts that I know how to do. And now we're moving on to the parts that I am less confident in. I've done this technique in theory on like miniatures and different like scatter terrain for D&D. But this scale is really intimidating. Because normally what I would do is I would just like score my knife along all of these edges, smash a ballpoint pen in there to make the grooves bigger, and then it would look good. But I fear any ballpoint pen is not going to be big enough to make an impact on tiles of this size. So we're going to have to do some experimenting. I've seen some people use like Dremel, like I watched Rachel Maxey do her walls, she used a Dremel, which looked really good, but it looked super messy and I don't own a Dremel. I've seen some people do Halloween tombstones using the router, which maybe we try, but I worry it's going to look too perfect if I do that, and again, also so messy. I really hate cleaning, if that isn't clear. So we're gonna try carving it with the X-Acto knife and see if that works. Let's do some experimenting. And I think that's gonna work. Let's try it. So smooth. Oh, that was so easy. This is so messy. Maybe I go to the garage. all the routing is done. I have changed clothes because I was covered in pink foam, like head to toe. We're now at the texturing phase of things. So if I was gonna do this regularly, I would have a rock and just mash it into the insulation. So my thought, I have a hammer and I have tin foil, and I saw Rachel Maxey do this and it looked really, really good in her castle wall tutorial video. So I'm just gonna borrow that idea because I like the look of it and hopefully it'll work on our pieces. So I'm gonna put these on the ground and we're gonna just smash. Put some paint on this wall and make it not pink, because stone is, you know, gray typically. And instead of going to buy a bunch of new paint, I have a lot of paint. I have all this black paint that I've never used. I have a bunch of white paint from other projects. So I figure I can make my own gray. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make some paint. Hey. Was way too much. Now that we have the base coat on, I've done a little bit of testing, and I basically am trying to get a little more variation in these stones. I feel like when they're all one color, it looks good, but it could look a lot better, and there wasn't as much variation as I had hoped when I initially painted them. Basically what the plan is I'm gonna go over with a really thin, like black, I'm calling it a glaze, it's not really glaze, it's super watered down black paint. Like this. And then, once that's dry, a little bit, wipe some of it away, I will go over it with a creamy white dry brush that I have, just to kind of highlight the edges like you can see right here. I feel like it's gonna be really subtle on camera, and it's really gonna matter in person. So we're gonna spend another like 3 hours painting all these stones again. It's gonna be a fun time. What do we think? Is she not beautiful? So this project was a lot of trial and error and a lot of trusting the process, but I think in the end, we got to a really solid place. It's not like hyper-realistic stonework, like you're not gonna look at it and be like, those are real stones, but you do look at it and say, that's a stone wall, and it looks cool in the space. So that's a win for me. I'm also excited to say that with the completion of this wall, we are now done all of the walls in this room, so I can finally do content that isn't just you guys watching me add stuff to my walls. Bonus for everybody. Next week, the plan is to do the storage on the wooden walls that I didn't get to in the last episode. So if you want to see that part of this journey, make sure you subscribe so you can follow along. If you had a fun time this week, make sure you give this video a like, and let me know in the comments if you would ever attempt something like this. It's a lot of work, but it really is cool, and I'd love to know if people would actually follow this, kind of like a tutorial. But also I understand that most people have normal homes that don't look like taverns. So, you know, you do you. And with that, I hope to see you guys next week. Bye!